the banks of the Mississippi here in St. Louis, and a look at the Reds lineup. It's their normal everyday lineup. It's Phillips, Cozart, and Votto, then Ludwig, Bruce, Roland, Hannigan, Stubbs, and Bailey. The same cannot be said, though, for Mike Matheny and the St. Louis Cardinals. Has the look of the Memphis Redbirds right now, and it's Shelby Miller making his first major league start. And his numbers brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust.
Well, you've heard his name ever since he was drafted #1 by the Cardinals back in '09. He was a high school draft pick then. He's been the Cardinals minor league pitcher of the year the last 2 seasons. Rated as the #1 prospect in the Cardinal organization. His first experience at AAA this year. Got off to a slow start, but pitched very well in the second half. And a byproduct of the Cardinals clinching last night is we get to see Shelby Miller make his first major league start.
I'm looking forward to it.
And you talk about this lineup Cardinals have. Every one of them came through the Cardinals system. How many teams can say that?
Interesting. And here is Brandon Phillips. He started with the Cleveland Indians. 2 for 9 in the series. He does have an RBI. Everything settled in the National League. And there's a fastball and a strike. What do you think, Al? Final game of the season and your long history involved with baseball. Do the guys, do you see the Miguel Cabrera update going for the Triple Crown? Does the strike zone get a little bigger tonight? Does the hitter say, I'm up there free swinging and let's move on to the next city. Let's get ready for postseason play?
It wouldn't be unusual for this to be a very quick game and everyone just trying to get through it. But Shelby Miller wants to establish that he can pitch here at this level.
Slowly hit to short. Cosma up with it, and he makes the play. Right now, Pete Cosma is the only regular that's in this lineup for Mike Matheny. It's Chambers, Robinson, and Schumacher in the outfield. Carpenter, Cosma, Jackson, and Anderson along the infield. Tony Cruz is behind the plate, and that's brought to you by Dobbs. A lot of different variations of this lineup that Mike could have gone with. When you think about Tony Cruz and his versatility of third, first, obviously behind the plate. Carpenter could have played first. Brian Anderson go behind the plate. I wonder if Mike Matheny is asking Lance Berkman, do you want to have one final at bat in what could be your final game that you have a chance to play in? That might be part of that conversation right there.
Could be, but apparently the knee, when he tested it last couple days to see if it could get it one more or one AB for the regular season, it was giving him problems again. So,
or just announce him, let him go up there, then pull him back. Strikeout of Cozart. Good start here for Shelby Miller.
Set up away. Let's see if he hits his target. Right down the middle. And what was Cozart looking for?
And Al, as Votto digs in, we think so much back to Game 6 last year, rightfully so, and David Freese and what he did. In a way, what's lost to an extent, Lance Berkman down to the final strike, and he extends the ball game and the season as well. And Cardinal fans, he was telling me the other day, he's been flying back and forth from Houston and St. Louis. He said it's amazing how respectful the fans have been to him. He said it's been beyond what he thought it might be, and he thought it was going to be great. And he said it's been better than that. And he said, Dan, you wouldn't believe how respectful they are to me, and then how much they thank me for one at bat. I've had all these at bats in my career, and they thank me for the one at bat and the season that he put together last year.
You're right. Without that one hit, the heroics that followed wouldn't happen.
3-1. Good test here for Shelby Miller with Joey Votto. I hope they do something, though, special here tonight for Lance Berkman. The 3-1 pitch. And that's ball 4. What's unfortunate too, Al, is you think about a one-game playoff with the Atlanta Braves, and if Berkman was able to swing the bat, at least you give Gonzalez and the Braves something to think about as a potential pinch hitter, knowing his history. If he has to hobble up there, so be it, but we know what a great hitter he is. You were just hoping that he might be available for that one game, maybe that one at bat, that Kirk Gibson moment. You never know.
Well, that's what you're talking about, a Kirk Gibson moment, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. Now, with the one-game playoff, you don't need to carry 5 starters. So really, I think you could get away with just 2. Kyle Loesch has been named as a starter. Maybe you back him up with a Wainwright, and then the other 3 starters, or depending on if you put Lance Lynn as described as a reliever. But then you can add extra, maybe a 3rd catcher. You can add Chambers because of his speed, another reliever. But you can play with your roster a little bit, knowing it's just one game. You must win it to go on.
One ball, 1 strike on Ludwig. The next from Shelby. And he did go.
On Hallion. Their little slider. Remember, Shelby Miller was a little bit reluctant to go to his secondary pitches. He could breeze by the minor leagues with his fastball, and the organization kept on telling him, that's great, but if you're going to pitch in the big leagues, you have to show more consistency with the off-speed pitches.
1-2 is hit right center, and tracking it down, Skip Schumacher showing his versatility. At Mike Matheny's lineup with Chambers, Robinson, and Schumacher. Skip batting 3rd in this lineup. Matt Carpenter will bat cleanup, then Cruz, Anderson, Jackson, Cosma, and Shelby Miller. So a couple of Texans squaring off tonight. Here's the other one, Homer Bailey. His number is brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust.
13 wins on the season. He was victimized by a staff high 6 times. He was a victim of blown saves, and he's coming off a no-hitter. Pitched a no-hitter his last outing against the Pirates. He walked 1, struck out 10 in that ball game. Is he Johnny Vandermeer?
Who knows? It sometimes is tougher for a pitcher to face a lineup that they're not used to seeing. Guys that haven't had a lot of chance to play here down the stretch, and that includes Adrian Chambers. Now you think about a one-game playoff, he becomes a valuable member of the team in defense and also his speed on the bases.
I think there's no doubt, because that element of speed, he's on your roster.
Up the middle and off the glove of the shortstop. Chambers will stop.
No Johnny Vandermeer this year.
It's Ludwig, Stubbs, and Bruce in the outfield. Roland, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto along the infield. Behind the plate tonight, it's Ryan Hannigan. And this is brought to you by Dobbs. So if Chambers wants to run, this will be a tough combination to do it against in Bailey and a very good thrower in Hannigan.
And our reference to Johnny Vandermeer, he's the only pitcher that had back-to-back no-hitters in Major League history.
This has been the Cardinals' top pinch hitter this year, and Shane Robinson. He's hitting .247.
It's worth repeating once again, the Cardinals deploying a lineup that is all homegrown. Every one of them signed by the Cardinals, come through the organization. And tonight, Mike Matheny has them playing in this game.
Mike is resting the regulars. They'll have a workout tomorrow. And we should remind folks that we'll have pre and post game coverage of that wild card play-in game on Friday. As Robinson pops it up. Over to get it, Votto in foul territory, and that'll be at 3:30. Will come your way. Pre-game show, 4:07 is the first pitch, and then we'll have exclusive post-game coverage as well. Chris Schumacher made a really nice play in the gap in right center field. And the way that Beltran has been running as of late, you're not sure, Al, if Carlos gets to that ball, but Skip did.
Well, we know Carlos is the graceful outfielder, but with his problem with his legs right now, you're absolutely right. Not running well. You know, with the ball's in the gap, and it is something to really think about. Could he have made that play that Skip made easily?
It's been a frustrating stretch run of a lack of playing time for Skip Schumacher. Second base, could play all three outfield positions. Game 7 of last year, he was in the outfield for the final out.
Consummate professional, though. You know he's not going to complain and always stay ready.
A 1 pitch to Schumacher, taken high. 8 for 21 off of Homer Bailey. That has to be the worst first name or nickname of any pitcher in the history of baseball.
That and Bob Walk.
Homer and Walk. You don't want those.
Neither one.
1-1 pitch. Runner goes. Good jump. Throw to second and save. Chambers a steal.
We think he's on that roster, but you might as well go out there and prove to Mike Matheny that you can be a weapon on the base paths. Very close play here. Plaza Tire Service with our video. Brian Nora, the second base umpire, got a good look at it, and it went Chambers' way.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Skip Schumacher. 2-2. I was talking with a scout before the game, and I asked him about Adrian Chambers. Described him as still being very raw. Great speed. His arm has become above average. Covers a lot of ground, but said in terms of baseball, still very raw. The 2-2. It's always interesting when you see a guy that has his kind of speed, but yet doesn't pile up stolen base numbers. There's another aspect just to, have speed, but being able to utilize it in the game of baseball.
You sure are right with that. And you have to have an arrogance if you're a true base stealer. Speed helps, but it's knowledge.
Strikeout of Skip. 2 away. And it brings in Matt Carpenter.
Looked like a pretty good pitch. Skip probably thought it was low. Cardinals have seen Bailey for the 4th time this season. He has 1 win and 2 losses against St. Louis.
Very solid year put together by Matt Carpenter. First full season in the big leagues. 2 outs and a runner at second base. And he looks at strike 1. If you're wondering if the Cardinals celebrated after the loss by the Dodgers last night, they did. A closed door celebration is our understanding. Oh, 1 pitch. 0-2.
Mike Matheny actually told everyone to go home, but they stuck around and they were rewarded a couple hours later into the night, early morning, and the Dodgers went down to defeat, the Cardinals became the second wild card.
Yankees leading Boston 5-1. That's in the top of the fifth. Tampa Bay also in top of five, leading Baltimore 3-0. As Carpenter skies one to left. Catch made by Ludwig. Redbird strand a man. No score after an inning of play.
Scott told me before the game this is his final day of his contract.
Does that mean it'll be the final day of his regular season career?
He doesn't know yet. Gave me a little insight, but told me not to share it.
Well, thanks for bringing it up then.
I just said it's a possibility. Those three great players could be their final game.
So, did Scott give you a hint one way or another? Would he retire in Indianapolis? Would he retire down south in Florida? Does he have a passion for the game still to maybe come back in and play for the Cincinnati Reds, Al?
I think he would come back for Cincinnati. He said he wouldn't back up somebody in Seattle. I said, you wouldn't want to be reunited with Brendan Ryan?
Three-one pitch to Bruce. Taken for a ball, and Shelby Miller has walked his second. The other was Votto with 2 outs in the first. So here is Scott rolling. 247 average, the 8 home runs, 39 RBIs. Made a ton of money, and the only reason for him to play is if he still has a passion to play the game.
He's hit 301 since the All-Star break.
Would he miss the camaraderie, the games, the grind of a major league season? All the questions right now that Scott has to answer. Wife and kids, away from them for a considerable amount of time. The 17th season, former Rookie of the Year with the Phillies.
And some of his best years wearing the birds on the bat.
If not for Hee-Seop Choi, you wonder where those numbers might be for Scott Rowland. Collision with, at that time, the Dodgers first baseman Choi, and
how about the middle infielder for Arizona? Ran into him in the postseason.
That was another one. His shoulders were never the same. Dealt with a bad back and had a knee issue for a while.
I think of the famous Alex Cintron in Arizona.
Could be a double play ball. Out at second, double play. Cosma had to wait. Eventually that grounder got to him. 6-3 on the double play. In steps Ryan Hanigan. Cardinals cruise is coming up end of January, early February. Mexico, Grand Cayman, Jamaica, the Bahamas. Many of the players will be a part of this. Mike Matheny as well. Some of the front office. 968-9600. AltairTravel.com, and proceeds will benefit Cardinals Care. Fly ball into shallow right. Schumacher under it, makes the catch. It's Cruz, Anderson, Jackson coming up. No score. Keys to the season, and that's Homer Bailey, what he's done at home and on the road. Much better on the road. 9-2, 2.41 ERA. And opponents hitting just above that 200 mark at 211. Toyota keys to the game.
ERA twice, more than twice at home as it is on the road, as that little bandbox in Cincinnati psychs out a lot of pitchers.
Cardinals will travel to Atlanta after the game tonight, work out tomorrow, and Cincinnati will fly out to San Francisco after the ball game this evening.
It's a 4:07 start time, Central Time, on Friday.
Chopper off the bat of Cruz, and Roland makes the play. Starting pitchers. Game on Friday will be Kyle Loesch and Chris Medlin. And Medlin has just been nothing short of sensational. And you look at the matchup and the losses, Loesch and Medlin have combined with a total of 4. That's amazing. 4.
And then the Atlanta Braves have won the last 23 starts by Medlin.
Here's Brian Anderson, and then you have Loesch's winning percentage at .842, best in baseball this year. Scouting report on Medlin. Very aggressive. He takes the mindset of how he was as a reliever into that starting rotation. Comes right at the hitters. 89 strikeouts for Medlin to just 9 walks. Now, he has had an issue, though, with home runs allowed. He's around the plate an awful lot in his starts. In 4 of his last 5 starts, he did give up a home run. So it gives you a little idea of what Chris Medlin is all about. We know about Kyle Loesch.
Very nice endorsement by his teammate Chris Carpenter, talking about Loesch and that he deserves that start. Carp saying he's gotten to know Loesch and he feels him very, very competitive. He'll do fine in that start. I think we all agree he should be getting the ball on Friday.
Strikeout of Anderson. I'm not sure everybody would agree with you, Al.
Talk up.
Well, I think you can again make a case with Wainwright. You know he's been a big game pitcher before. He's done it in the past as a closer. Probably should have won the Cy Young one of those years that he was in the top 3.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. And yeah, he's 6-1
against the point. Yeah, that's his former team. He's coming on rest. You know, you make the case for it.
Yeah, and I'll make a better case for it that after Loesch wins, then you got Wainwright to pitch first game.
Al, part of my job after 15 years, I don't know if you know this, is to throw out scenarios and ideas. So,
and I knock them out of the ballpark.
And I just put them all on the table for you. Okay.
It's Kyle Loesch on Friday. Best choice.
And I did mix in some of your medication with your dinner tonight, so it should be kicking in by the 3rd. I can only hope.
Hope you doubled it.
1-2 the count on Ryan Jackson. And he swings and misses. A strikeout, and that's number 3 for Homer Bailey. Top of the 3rd rolls in. It's Stubbs, Bailey, and Phillips. A concern for Dusty Baker. Down the stretch here has been his offensive bit. Carpenter calls for it, puts it away. So Dusty Baker was out with a heart issue. Missed their celebration. Spent a number of days in a hospital room in Chicago.
Heck of a way to lose 22 pounds.
And he said that it wasn't my time to go. He said, that's the way I look at it. Very fortunate with the way that things unfolded for him. Very scary situation you talked about the other night.
And he was being discharged, and the nurse started asking him a couple simple questions like, what's your name, where are you, and he couldn't respond. And she immediately alerted the doctors, and they got a stroke team in place and really took care of business for him.
So some of the newcomers to the postseason dance. It's Washington, Cincinnati, Baltimore, their first winning season since 1997. The A's. What Oakland was able to do in the second half, not just make it into the postseason, but this afternoon at home, they beat Texas, so they win the American League West. 94-68. Here's Phillips, who grounded out to short. Miller, as he delivers to the plate, has that similar little pat of the glove that you see out of Chris Carpenter. Oh, 0-2. Be very interesting to see exactly how Mike Matheny approaches that pseudo long man, if you will. You could have a Shelby Miller. You could move Lance Lynn out of your rotation, put him to that role. We saw that Rosenthal was just awesome last night. May have been the most impressive we've seen him all season. And
if you kind of paying attention now, I think everybody knows Mahika's the 7th inning, Boggs 8th inning, Mott the 9th, but I think Rosenthal has established himself as the 6th inning guy.
Mahika, that trade has flown under the radar around baseball, but at the time of the deal, it really changed the bullpen and what Mike was able to do at the back end of games, and gave him an established veteran in the 7th. There's Kelly on the left, Rosenthal on the right, but trade by Mike Matheny, or rather by John Mozeliak for Mike Matheny, and getting Mahika was big.
Right. Kind of flew by the radar, but as you said, in the end, it was big. As big as any deal any other club made. And by starting Shelby Miller in this game tonight, that eliminates him from at least the playoff roster for the first round, and probably for the entire playoff run. You got the Joe Kellys and you got the Lance Lynn's to be the real long guys if you need them.
Liner out to left, and making the catch, Chambers. Cardinals have Cosma, Miller, and Chambers due up. Cardinals are still unsure about Rafael Furcal as to whether or not he will have surgery. But a good fallback plan, or even a guy that can split time next year with him, is Pete Cosma.
Well, he's opened up a lot of eyes. And on this homestand, he's hit over 500, 530 with 6 RBIs. And I talked to Ralphie yesterday, and he said that the most recent MRI just showed slight improvement. But it's getting to that point where you have to make a determination whether he goes under the knife or not.
Not a lot of options looking at free agents. It's not a deep pool of shortstops. So Cosma giving the Cardinals a little insurance in that regard. One ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Pete has to be very proud of what he's accomplished, but he has really opened up the eyes. Only hit 232 at AAA this year. Did lead the Memphis Ball Club in RBIs, but it was like at 63.
He's got occasional pop. One season he had 10 home runs in the minor leagues.
Nice. 10 of his 22 hits have been for extra bases. And he's shown the ability to drive in runs. 14 in September.
Pops it up. Shallow center field. Stubbs, the center fielder, calling for it. First out here in the home half of the third. We saw game one of this series. Jaime Garcia with a home run. 10 hits this season, including a double, a triple, and the home run. So he picks up the season cycle. The last to do that among pitchers was Dontrell Willis. A strike at the knees to Shelby Miller. I have to think it's an exciting day for Shelby, making his first ever major league start. After a handful of appearances out of the bullpen.
And I'm sure he was notified of this possibility. We were hoping for it. This would be the scenario that I don't think it hurts Wainwright to get a couple more days rest also. And the ball back position is not only Shelby gets this start, but you get to start all these youngsters. And the rest are veterans.
So the new format in Major League Baseball allows the Cardinals to sneak in, so to speak, as the second wild card, and comes together quickly this year as they added that in season, and it's only a one-game playoff between Atlanta and St. Louis. Hearing positives around baseball, Al, about adding a second wild card, so 10 teams now make it into postseason play. What you hear, though, is why just the one game? Well, this year it's got to be just a one-game playoff, or there needs to be some major adjustments made of when you start the season or how many games you play in regular season.
But Dan, if you move it to a best 2 out of 3, then you run the risk of your other teams, nearly, going to have 5 days, something like that, of sitting around, and that's going to lose their edge without playing games.
2-2 pitch, taken low.
One-game playoff, really, in many cases, it's not fair, but hey, it does reward the division winners.
Shelby Miller, a liner out to left, off the base of the wall. On his way into second base, standing up with a double.
I was looking at Shelby's numbers as a hitter, and he didn't show much. We didn't expect this, but here he turns on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball right off the base of the wall, over the head of left fielder, right off the wall right there. He had no hits in 27 at-bats at AAA this year, and only 2 lifetime hits in the minor leagues, 2 for 38. That could be his first extra base hit ever.
That floats in there for strike 2, Chambers. Chambers with a single and a steal back in the first. 1 ball, 1 strike. Miller the runner at second base.
actually did have a previous at bat here at the major league level, so it's not a hit in his first at bat.
Shelby was a tight end and punter at Brownwood High School in Texas. Did not go. Recently as 2009, Shelby was Texas A&M's top recruit senior year in high school. Considered one of the best coming out of high school when he signed with St. Louis. Chambers fights off the pitch. 2-2 the count.
Chambers apparently was a pretty good football prospect. If you go to Ole Miss, something originally.
Michael Gersh there on the left, the assistant GM, John Mozeliak on the right. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Late with that swing. A strikeout for big right-hander Homer Bailey for Cincinnati. And already with 4 on the night.
Reds are no strangers to picking up strikeouts. With his 4 tonight, that gives them 1,241. It's a franchise single season record. Now the Reds have used only 33 players this year, the fewest in the major leagues. Where they went the first 120 starts with just a 5-man rotation.
And that's a base hit into right. Miller held up at third. And a chance for Skip Schumacher. So the pitcher running from second base, and a hard hit ball by Shane Robinson. Oquendo elected to hold him up. Runners at the corners for Skip Schumacher.
2 outs. He's running here, but last thing you want is to run into an out or a collision with Hannigan, the catcher, at home plate, and Jay Bruce does have one of the better throwing arms.
Shane Robinson is 1 for 2. And Schumacher was called out on strikes his first time up. He's in right field tonight. Little chopper towards short. Race to the bag and out. Considered one of the top prospects. The Cardinals organization. Miller going back to work. Robinson out by about a half foot. Might be, and it's only a 1-game playoff, would be your lefties out of the pen. This is where you wish you had more faith right now in Zipchinski. Freeman has been getting the call more often, but think about those lefties in that lineup. Very good. You saw Hayward there, Freddie Freeman. You can flip Chipper Jones around the other way. Who wants it? It's Robinson.
Well, the Braves really dominated the season series. The runs were pretty even, and the average basically the same. Starters ERA was the same, but look at the difference right there. The relievers ERA. There's 2.67. You know they have a deadly bullpen. Cardinals 6.14, but that was early in the season when Mike Matheny didn't have, his bullpen set up like he does now. I guess the one thing, Dan, and it is a concern about those left-handed bats in the lineup. But we've seen Mike Matheny really not concerned, you know, with whether they're lefties or righty when he's got Mahika, Boggs, and Mott. And with the power arms of, say, a Rosenthal, you know, maybe you don't go to those lefty relievers.
Clearly, I don't think he would. And I'm with you, Al. I think if you got those kind of power arms coming out of the bullpen, righty lefty wouldn't matter. Strikeout for Shelby Miller, and Votto is 0 for 1 tonight with a walk. If you'd like to be here next season in person, playoff tickets as well. StubHub, official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. 3 strikeouts tonight for Shelby Miller. In steps Ludwig.
Get your attention when you strike out a guy like Votto.
The hype surrounding Shelby Miller was so big at the time. Before the draft had been slotted, he had said it would take over $4 million for him to sign and not go to Texas A&M. Didn't sign for that much, but got a hefty amount of money, and with that comes expectations. Not just inside the organization, but this fan base had heard so much about Shelby Miller.
And you give him a lot of credit, because his first experience, the first half at AAA, it wasn't going that well. But he turned it around, the season around, with the second half. He was the Cardinals minor league pitcher for the month of August, when he had a 5-1 record, ERA under 3. In his 6 starts.
0-2 the count on Ludwig. Blew it right by him at 93 miles an hour. 2 strikeouts in the inning. 2 pretty good ones, Votto and Ludwig. So let's go to our studio. Pat Paris standing by with a Bommarito Sports Update. Matt Carpenter leads it off, followed by Cruz and Anderson. Going back to October 2nd of 1990, that's a look at the lineup that date. The combined career games of 1,176. Well, tonight, a little bit higher, 1,278. But bottom line, not a lot of experience back in 1990 with that lineup, and not a lot tonight.
Well, you take out Milt Thompson and Skip Schumacher tonight, and they're very inexperienced lineups.
Milt Thompson, one of the real good guys.
He really is, and I think he still makes his home here in St. Louis. And I still wasn't sure why he was let go from Phillies. Looked like he was doing a very good job as the hitting coach there.
Bernard Gilkey, St. Louis.
Yeah. See Bernard every now and then.
Yeah, he's coming back to the ballpark.
And I understood that Brad Thompson is at the ballpark this evening. Been playing independent baseball, but I saw his sister-in-law. She told me that Brad was coming tonight.
Owns a ring from 2006. Brad Thompson. Remember the scoreless inning streak he had in the minor leagues. Was effective up here in the big leagues too.
0-0. Omar Olivares started that game back in 1990.
2-2 the count here on Carpenter. A swing and a miss late with that swing. You'd have to think that Mike Matheny would go deeper into a game with Shelby Miller as opposed to Homer Bailey. Time will tell, but trend has been for Dusty to give his pitchers around 75-80 pitches the first 2 nights as starters, and then take them out.
Get a good sweat up, and then they're prepared for their next postseason assignment.
Miguel Cabrera looking for the Triple Crown in the lineup tonight. Said he did not want to sit out, wanted to make sure and play. Ground ball deep in the hole and a base hit.
Yadier Molina is just so durable and having such a remarkable season. Tony Cruz, in my estimation, has been a very solid backup catcher. Doesn't get many plate appearances, doesn't get a lot of playing time, but he's shown that he can hit a little bit at this level, and whether it's coming off the bench or just the spare starts, and I think the Cardinals are very, very happy with his backup.
Cruz hitting around that 270 mark. And here is Brian Anderson. Had a terrific spring, did not make the club. Awful start at AAA. Really had to fight through that bad start.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but people said it was almost historic, something like 1 for 100. Ended up hitting just like 225, but that's such improvement from where he started out early in the season.
I have to wonder, Al, if he just felt mentally buried after not making the club out of spring. He was so good in spring, and you think about the hype around Shelby Miller. Brian Anderson for a while had a lot of hype around him. Not quite the level of Shelby, but he was thought as a guy that definitely could be a backup at some point with Yadi here, or maybe an everyday catcher somewhere else.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And then he kind of fell off the radar, and it really was Mike Matheny. That when Mike was the catching instructor in minor leagues, this got people to start commenting about Anderson. He believed in him. And one of the things he said, look at this was a high school draft pick. You know, he's never really had to work with calling a game, the little nuances of the responsibilities of the catcher. It took him a little longer, but he's caught on to it, and I think Mike really likes him. He's a very likable young man, and I think he's going to be better off in another organization.
2-2. Yeah, you're definitely blocked here. Molina is the man, and figure out who's going to be your backup.
Now in postseason, you might go with 3 catchers because Cruz is a pretty good little bat coming off the bench, and that's kind of a weak area for the Cardinals.
Anderson has struck out twice looking tonight. Number 6 for Homer Bailey.
Now you got to swing the bat, and of course that's a pitcher's pitch right there, down and away, right on the black. Ryan Jackson, noted to be the best defensive infielder in the minor leagues. We thought it was very curious as he played shortstop at Memphis, and Kozma was the second baseman. Up here it's been the reversal.
One ball and 1 strike. Could be a very busy day around Major League Baseball with some of the pink slips that may be handed out to managers that were on the hot seat.
You know, you've been around Bobby Valentin a little bit, right?
Oh yeah.
And you know how Bobby can be very arrogant, and he thought he was going to go into that Boston situation and really change things, do it his way. And he found out that he was the outsider in that organization, wasn't he?
There's no doubt. I'll be very curious to see what happens with Ozzie Guillen. You know, there's a guy that obviously had his comments that were brutal, especially anywhere, but especially where the ballpark is located in Little Havana. Hey, what are you thinking when you say something like that?
Well, it's just
clearly you're not.
Yeah, you're not thinking.
And then he has had some choice words with the owner there. He's got 3 more years on his contract. Who would really want to take a flyer on him? if he's let go in Miami. He's done some television work.
Could you trust him even doing that?
Runner goes, that's Cruz, and it's hit out of play.
It would definitely have to be on cable.
Never know, might have that Garrett Stevenson moment. See, there's always
during the celebration, though.
There's always something good that comes out of not doing a celebration.
Wasn't that Joe Buck's comment? Is like, oh, well, we are on cable.
It certainly wasn't Garrett's comment. Here's a 1-2. And with 2 outs, it's popped up into shallow left. Catch made. And the Cardinals have stranded 4. No score as we move to the 5th.
Well, we're scoreless here. Cardinals have 4 hits against no-hitter Bailey. And pretty good outing so far for Shelby Miller, making his first major league start. The phenom #1 pitching prospect by the Cardinals, and he's showing you why.
I was excited to hear that Shelby was going to get this start. Only 13 balls thus far out of his 45 pitches. And he's taking on a very good lineup, obviously, here this evening.
And I think we all were really looking forward. This was one of the bonuses if the Cardinals could clinch. You get some rest for Wainwright, and Shelby Miller could get a start.
With the shift on here for Bruce.
And I like it now because you got all these, like you say, the Memphis team out there playing. Cardinals seeing a glimpse of what the future will look like.
Facing a lineup that's got the regulars in it, headed to San Francisco after the game tonight. He must have that late giddy up on his fastball. We've seen a lot of swings and misses, whether it be tonight or even in his appearances out of the bullpen, but swings and misses with that fastball.
Well, like you said, you know, we've got guys that throw 100 miles an hour, but you don't get swing and misses like this. So, little movement.
So Bruce strikes out. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. It's Kelly, Rosenthal, Miller. The future is bright. Also, you have Carlos Martinez. It'll be in the mix very soon.
Walker.
Michael Walker out of Texas A&M, the first-round pick this year. They really like him.
And he's on a fast track.
It seemed like, Alan, you would know better than I, having been in the organization for a long time, but it seems like the last 5 to 7 years, I guess, that fast track seemed to get pushed a little quicker, maybe because of money, maybe because of pressure of getting guys signed and trying to get them through a system. But maybe we saw players arrive on the scene earlier than in the past.
Well, it's
wow. Strikeout number 6.
It's 4 in a row for Shelby Miller. Hitting his spots. Rollins it into a double play, and here he's caught looking on our Hyundai replay. But you know, it's a fine line. You want to push people, you want to challenge them, but the last thing you want to do is send them to a level that they can't handle. And some of these guys will taste defeat for the first time. I always do believe you do want to fail at some level in the minor leagues, so you can learn how to battle your way back. Like Shelby Miller, you know, he goes to AAA and he struggled the first half of the season, but then he figured things out, maybe listened a little more, changed his pitching pattern, and now we're seeing the result of it.
So not necessarily the worst thing.
No, I mean, seriously, the worst thing that can happen to a player is you've been a star all through your prep years, then you get in the minor leagues and you race through and never fail, and you're going to fail at the big league level at some point. And when you fail here for the first time, I've seen a lot of guys never recover.
Really the fine line too. You know, you talk to John Vooch or John Mozeliak, John running the farm system and Mo overseeing everything, but they talk about these young guys and so much hype that when they bring them up, very cautious about where they put him in games and how you spot them, try to give them early success.
And so you can do that if you put him in the bullpen.
1-2 pitch, and that hits Hannigan. Miguel Cabrera has been removed in his ball game. Tiger slugger on the cusp of history. Chance to become the first Triple Crown winner since 1967. 0 for 2 tonight. And we still believe that that would keep him atop every category.
You know, Jim Leyland's got it all figured out.
Two outs and a runner at first, and here is Drew Stubbs. Jim Leyland, there was talk a month ago that the White Sox are going to run away with this division now. They've got all the momentum. And you and I saw Detroit spring training. We thought that's the team to beat. Look at these additions. Look at that great lineup. And all of a sudden they were saying Jim Leyland's on the hot seat. Now they say a month later, how can we keep him here?
It's sports, I guess. The White Sox, I think, finished up 3-11 to knock themselves out of contention.
0-2 the count.
Izzy's on deck if they get to the pitcher spot in the order.
Right-hander throwing in the pen. Swing and a miss. He strikes out the side here in the fifth. That's 7 on the night for Shelby Miller. First ever start in the big leagues, and so far so good. He still has a long way to go in his career, but it looks like that Triple Crown is wrapped up. Cabrera, the winner in average, home runs, and RBIs. Big night for baseball fans in Venezuela. Country watching Cabrera's Triple Crown quest. Also, Omar Vizquel, his final game in the major leagues.
And it's our Chevy call to the bullpen. Arredondo comes in for the 66th time. 6-2. Hard thrower they got. He was having Tommy John surgery with the Angels. Wholesale changes out there. It's like Cairo is playing second base. Valdez is a shortstop. Navarro is our catcher. Is that Frazier at third?
And that's just foul. The bat of Pete Kozma. I believe that is Frazier at third base.
Homer Bailey, first start after throwing a no-hitter against Pittsburgh his last outing. Those 4 shutout innings against the Cardinals, he gave up 4 hits, but he struck out 6, and the Cardinals couldn't score. No scoring in this game.
1 ball and 1 strike. The 2-1 pitch in on his hands with that late tailing action. Homer Bailey sharp tonight. Shelby Miller against the everyday lineup of the Reds. Now they've been awfully aggressive in those at bats, but give him credit too. The 2-2 to Pete Kozma.
Angels not exactly finishing the way they wanted to. They were knocked out of postseason play, and they're losing tonight 12-0 against Seattle.
Mike Scioscia, speaking of guys on the hot seat, as that's pulled foul. Talk of him. Jerry Dipoto is the new general manager, that they could be on the way out. But the problem is Mike Scioscia has won before. He's had great success there. He's brought them their only World Series title. And oh, by the way, he's owed a bunch of money through, I believe, the 2018 season.
Yeah, something like that. At least $4 million a year. very well respected as a baseball manager and baseball person. He wouldn't stay unemployed very long, and
not at all.
I think Jerry DiPoto may be in more of a hot seat than Mike Scioscia. Very, very popular with the fans.
Check swing, and Cosma did go. Arredondo gets the strikeout. And there's one away to start the home half of the fifth. Playoff Big Mac Land bonus days are back. Get a 25-cent Big Mac every day the Cardinals play this postseason when you buy one at a regular price. 25-cent Big Macs every day the Cardinals play this postseason. So go Cards from McDonald's. Here's Shelby Miller. Has a double tonight off the wall.
First major league hit and his second plate appearance. As I said, it's his first hit of the year, as he was 0 for 27 at AAA.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Ground ball left side. It's another base hit for Shelby Miller.
Look out, Garcia. There's Garcia, who wrapped up the Derby as the hitters have the hitting pool. Who gets the most hits? There's Jaime helped his own cause with a home run his last start. Interesting thing, if the Cardinals get by the play-in game on Friday, does Garcia get one of those first two home starts?
At some point you're going to have to pitch him, you would think, and if that's the case, I'd rather see him pitch at home as opposed to the road.
Even though the last two road outings have been very good, but you're right, career-wise, his home-road splits really favored the home field.
His last 4 starts been very good. Here's a 2-0 pitch to Adrian Chambers. Three-0 the count on the Cardinal leadoff man tonight, and he looks at a strike. Three and 2 the count on Chambers. With 1 out, runner at first is Shelby Miller. Yankees trying to wrap up their 12th division title under Brian Cashman's regime. Cam Jansen there for the New Jersey Devils. Mid-season form. There's 2 away.
Strikeout's been the theme of this game for both sides, hasn't it? There's 8 Cardinals that have gone down, and Shelby Miller has struck out 7 himself.
Struck out the side in the 5th. Matter of fact, he has struck out 5 of the last 6 he has seen. Robinson pops it up near the on deck circle, and Votto makes the catch. We're through 5. We jump ahead to the 6th when we come back. And again, the pregame show will come your way at 3:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. A look at the starters and what they've done. Again, 23 starts in a row that the Braves have won that Medlin's been on the mound. Here's Heisey, followed by Cairo, then Valdez. A scoreless ball game here in the top of the 6th. Shelby Miller has been very impressive so far.
He's walked 1, he's hit a batter and struck out 7.
1-1 pitch. Long fly ball out to deep left. Chambers on the move, and with room, he's got it.
Probably the best hit ball of the night. Chambers gets back, makes the catch midway on the warning track. See Shelby kind of shaking his head. Probably thought that was gone, but he got a reprieve.
One out, nobody on. Here's Miguel Cairo.
Our buddy Cairo.
Yes, that's Miguel Cairo.
Finishing strong. Cairo has a 3-game hitting streak. And in his last 8 appearances with the bat, 7 for 19, 368.
A couple of years ago, Miguel got a call from Walt Jocketty, and he thought that was to help out in some capacity, coaching, going down to the minor leagues, helping out there, and they said, no, we want you to play.
Yeah, I said, hey, I noticed you're finishing strong, and he goes, yeah, and I said, well, hope to see you someplace next year, and he goes, well, if it's not playing, I'll be coaching third someplace. He'd probably make a very good coach.
2 balls and 1 strike.
A couple of years ago, he had a very bad spring, and he thought he was going to get released, and they said, no, you made our ball club. Play a lot of different positions. Sting you on occasion with the bat, but really a wealth of knowledge, and can be an extension of the coaching staff with his ability to communicate with the Latin players.
These kind of players are invaluable to a franchise, mixing in the youth with the veterans and winning ball clubs. We just had that shot of Wainwright talking with Garcia. That's a good example there. And mentoring. Carpenter did that with Wainwright.
Carpenter did an awful lot for Rosenthal. Rosenthal gives Carp a lot of credit for adding the cutter to Rosenthal's pitch selection, but just talking about how to handle yourself as a big leaguer.
A fly ball lifted to right field. Schumacher makes the catch. Get all 11 replica rings at thepostdispatchstore.com. As Al told you the other night, really well done by Cardinals in conjunction with the Post-Dispatch. The display case, very nice. And the replica ring, if you missed out on the giveaway, it's exactly like the one that they gave away here at the ballpark.
It's great. I bought one and like it so much, I'll probably buy a couple more for gifts. Westland approved of it.
You have his approval. That's all you need.
First night he saw that, he took it to his tent, took it to his fort. He tried on every one of them.
Little floater, and it's a base hit. The first hit of the night allowed by Shelby Miller.
Over the head. So Jackson going back on it. Damn, we should have kept the major leaguers in there. Valdez. Promotion at the spanning rosters. And he gets the first hit.
And Votto is swinging a miss.
Joey missing all the time with the 2 surgical procedures on his left knee. Probably trying to give him a few more bats, keep him sharp.
Shelby, the 2010 minor league pitcher of the year for St. Louis. And if you were wondering, he had thrown no hitters before. He had 3 in one season in high school. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Joey Votto. Little check swing. Knocked down by Anderson. Stays with it. Makes the play. Nice round of applause for Shelby.
Hoover was acquired from the Braves in exchange for Inter the Juan Francisco. He received the Mary E. Barney Award as Louisville's most valuable pitcher.
What is that again?
The Mary E. Barney Award. Louisville's most valuable pitcher in 30 appearances for Louisville. He was 4-0 with a 1.22 ERA and 13 saves and 14 chances. Opponents only hit 121 off.
Schumacher hits it out of play. 1-game playoff, Al. It's the way it's set up. Cardinals get in as the second wild card, so whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. Postseason play is here.
Yeah, I'd rather be in than not.
You bet.
Cardinals proved last year that, and also in 06, you can get there. You know, take your chances.
06 team, 83 wins.
And they ran the table. They got in and they played the best baseball.
1-2 pitch. Schumacher, hard hit towards short. Nice play there. Carpenter is 0 for 2. Think about one of the intangibles the Cardinals bring to the table. It's a big one. Experience.
No doubt. Now we talked about Chipper Jones, and he has a lot of postseason experience, but a lot of his teammates do not.
Young team.
Maybe that's part of the reason why they failed down the stretch last season. Freddie Gonzalez, their manager of the Atlanta Braves, just an outstanding individual, and happy for him. That had to be an excruciating winter last year.
What a relief it must be now. And ironically enough, Freddie Freeman, who grounded out to end the season last year, hits a walk-off to send him into postseason this year.
They're going to be a very dangerous opponent. Nedlin, like you say, is one team has won 23 straight starts by him. His numbers are great as an individual. Their bullpen is locked down.
Kimbrel is just flat out nasty. Becomes an 8-inning game.
Yeah.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Carpenter. Now you wonder at this point in the season about some guys like a Matt Carpenter. Granted, he's not playing every day, but this is the furthest along in a season that he's ever played. This guy's wearing down a bit. Now the playoffs should give you a jolt, you would think and hope. But for some of these guys, You wonder about just wearing down.
Well, there's a lot of truth to it. You know, in the minor leagues, you have 5 months, and that extra month of September wears down a lot of minor league guys. But I don't think we have to worry about Carpenter. He's had such a solid season.
Lifts it in the air to left center. Cardinals about to hit the Reds in this game 5-1, but nothing to show for it. Catch all the action of the 2012 Major League Baseball postseason on Fox and TBS. The excitement begins October 5th. The wild card on TBS.
Looks like the Yankees will win the Eastern Division. Baltimore will be the wild card there.
Now for my golf tournament, I have a bat from Stan the Man. So it's the actual bat that he used. The specs. And Dick Zitzman, who runs Stan the Man Inc.
965-3000.
965-3000 is right. Some of the most unique memorabilia you'll find in baseball. StanTheManInc.com. But he said Stan, about 3 to 4 months into the season, started shaving the handle. And he had a bat that was, for that time, skinnier handle.
Very thin hand.
Yep, and a bigger barrel. And as the season wore on and he would get worn down, he would shave that handle even further. Lighten up the bat. Some of the players even do that today. The postseason, you think of 2011, you think of this man, David Freese. One of the most famous home runs in franchise history. Miguel Cabrera, but as far as personal highlights, Pat, that's as big as it gets. Cardinals pep rally. If the Cardinals win Friday in Atlanta, Ballpark Village, before the division series games 1 and 2, we should remind you that games 1 and 2 will be Sunday and Monday. We know that for sure. Games 1 and 2 here at the ballpark Sunday and Monday. Miller is through 6 innings, no runs, a hit, walked 2, 7 strikeouts, 72 pitches. So Miller gives way to Freeman, and here's a look at Ryan Ludwig.
You know, Dan, we were both anxious to see Miller, and he did not disappoint.
Not at all.
I have to say he was much better than what we anticipated. I have not seen a group of young Cardinal pitchers with this promise and this outstanding power arms as we've seen in this group this year. And Freeman is right there with them too. Lefty, he throws 95, 96 coming out of the pen.
Kind of guys aren't growing off trees. A lefty that can throw mid-90s. That's why he's so intriguing. And he's also one of those players that has battled back from Tommy John surgery and now getting the feel back, the fastball and the life on it. Swing and a miss. 96 from Sam Freeman.
Man, it's almost like you had Tommy John. Oh, good. Let's sign you.
He's got some longevity in that arm then. He had the Tommy John surgery.
And we know Ludwig, he's trying to chase that fastball up there in the zone. He's not going to catch up to it. This is probably one of the matchups that Mike Matheny wants to see.
Would be some if these two teams would meet in the NLCS.
I was just talking with Tom Brenneman, and that was his prediction. He thinks these two teams will meet.
Bring back Jason LaRue to throw out a ceremonial first pitch. Part of both franchises.
Johnny Cueto to catch it.
You bet. Hug it out.
With them looking the other way.
Of a pile on home plate and somewhere underneath the pile. Jeff Suppan will crawl through somebody's legs.
Out from underneath. That's still some of the funniest video.
That is smoked into right field. He beats the shift. Jay Bruce. Ball just jumps off his bat. It has since the day he arrived in the big leagues.
That was what I said that Mike Matheny wants to see. What does Freeman do against a left-handed batter? We saw him strike out Ludwig, which is impressive, but his assignment is going to get left-handed hitters out, and he missed on Jay Bruce.
Here's Todd Frazier. Will be in the running for a Rookie of the Year. He was my choice, and then I had to switch.
Did you see the USA Today?
I did not.
A very interesting article comparing. One article was comparing the MVP of the American League. Bob Nightingale had Cabrera. Another writer had Trout.
Freeman, momentum going to second base, gets the lead man. I know you could really break the numbers down, but how do you not give it to somebody that wins the Triple Crown and a team that's going? His team is going to postseason play.
I liked Nightingale's argument better, and I think we're both in agreement that the first Triple Crown winner in the American League since 1967. The National League hasn't had one since 1937. The Cardinals' Ducky Medwick. This is Navarro.
It's fouled back. So 2 outs and a runner at first. It's not to take anything away from Mike Trout, who's had a sensational year. But the Triple Crown is the Triple Crown. One pitch to Navarro, and it's popped up. Cosma wants it. The shortstop of the Cardinals puts it away. Time to stretch. No score here in St. Louis. So the brackets are set. Texas and Baltimore the wild card. Atlanta, St. Louis the wild card. Those 4 teams will play on Friday, and then we'll be down to 8 teams left. Division series. Washington will await the winner of Atlanta and St. Louis. Can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun this run. Xavier Paul is the new left fielder.
Andrusik is the new pitcher for the Reds. Starter home Bailey goes 4 innings of shutout baseball and then turn it over the bullpen. Andrusik, the third reliever.
Our crowd tonight of 42,509. 42,509. So the season total, the regular season total, 3,262,109. So 3.2 coming through the turnstiles again, and tonight the 19th sold out crowd of the season.
See if Brian Anderson can't do something. Been a tough night so far.
A changeup out in front. 1-2.
Pair of strikeouts, both times looking against Homer Bailey.
Tough night continues. Kimbrel, the outstanding closer of the Atlanta Braves, and this guy is as good as anybody right now in baseball. 42 saves and 45 opportunities.
Great fastball and a terrific breaking ball.
Just joining us, Shelby Miller had a no-hitter through 5 innings tonight. Allowed a blue base hit, and that was it. Our final telecast of the season. Tom Mee, our director all season long. Mike Helling, Brian McCann, Danny Martinez, Keith O'Brien, Tim Garcia, Tony West up here with us, Dawn, Al, Rick, Pat, Jim. We've had a lot of fun here on Fox Sports Midwest. Remember, those tickets for the postseason on sale right now, so don't wait. Division Series tickets, they'll go obviously very quickly after that final out on Friday if the Cardinals win. So get them now. Assure your spot here at Busch Stadium. Lance Berkman has moved to the on-deck circle.
We should listen to see
the
crowd reaction.
The fans in the front row right behind him taking pictures of Berkman and what could be his final at bat in Major League Baseball. And if indeed this is it, he'll go down as one of the greatest switch hitters to ever play the game.
A lot of milestones this year.
Hit out of play by Cosma.
Shame Jim Hayes couldn't pay a visit. I heard he was just too emotional on a final telecast.
Lance was busy a couple of days ago. Dedication of Lance Berkman Field.
Wonder what's going through his mind.
A lot of talk when we were in Houston last week that maybe Berkman could serve as the DH for the Astros.
I heard he almost, after Milo Hamilton had his little press conference, heard Berkman was almost going to call a press conference and say, well, I may be retiring, but maybe not.
That's what he told us. Line drive, and let's listen in for Lance Berkman. Strike one on Berkman.
How do you hit after that?
360 home runs, 1,200 RBIs in his 14 seasons. Well, this lets you listen in as we had to break. Emotional moment for Lance Berkman, and seeing him limp down to first base in what very well could be his final at bat in the big leagues.
You and I both were taken back. You know, I mean, we knew there was going to be a nice moment, but we always say that the Cardinal fans never disappoint us. We expect a reaction like that, but I'm sure Lance will appreciate that very, very much.
6th highest attendance, by the way, in Major League Baseball. You have the large markets of the Phillies, number 1. Yankees finish up number 2. Dallas, Fort Worth, that Texas Rangers team. Then San Francisco, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. And the irony of it, St. Louis finishes ahead of the Angels.
Attendance and otherwise. I remember when Peter Ueberroth was the baseball commissioner the very first time that the Cardinals drew over 3 million. And it was the first time in Major League history that a franchise drew more fans than their metropolitan area. And Peter Ueberroth made a comparison between the Yankees or a New York team drawing to have the same attendance would have to be 13 million for the Yankees and 10 million for Los Angeles.
16th time in franchise history as Marte is greeted with a base hit by Paul. The Cardinals have had 3 million in attendance, 9th straight season, and 14 out of the past 50. That is truly amazing. The average attendance this year at Busch Stadium, 40,273. So the fans come through the turnstiles, and most postseason appearances since 2000. Direct correlation one with the other. The attendance, getting the good players, and the postseason appearances.
You know, the ownership group led by Bill DeWitt Jr. has really reinvested the money that the fans, hard-earned money that they put through the turnstiles, and he reinvested it in this ball club. And can't say he has not wanted to have a competitive team every year, and they have been so.
How do you argue with what they've been able to do? It's just, you know, when you're not spending the kind of money that the Yankees and the Red Sox and some of the larger market teams are doing, and yet you go to a World Series 2004, you win it in 06, you're back in it again and win it in 2011, and year after year you're competitive.
For the last 4 years you've gone to postseason. Then the current ownership took over in 96, and the payroll last year that Anheuser-Busch owned the ball club was about $28 million.
Now
about 115.
Yeah. Runner goes, swung on and missed. Goodbye at second. Nice throw by Cruz. You ask your backup to be a catch and throw guy, and I think, Al, that's been maybe the most surprising aspect of Tony Cruz. They are really pleased last year and again this year just how well he has thrown.
And remember, he's a converted infielder to catcher, and he has really become very focused. He knows his responsibility. He follows Molina. Learned how to, you know, work with a starting pitcher. The extensive information overload almost that, you know, it started with Duncan, and he's really, you know, just continued, but they expect an awful lot out of the catchers, and they are very pleased with both of them.
We've talked a lot about Mike Matheny in his first season, and he is headed to postseason play. And think about the edge of the guys that left St. Louis, and I mean the edge of what they bring, that nastiness factor to them. Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, I think you'd say hated, it seems like, by everybody in baseball, and I mean that as a compliment. You know, Pujols had that edge, and we know Carpenter has that edge to him, but we didn't see him for 5.5 months, and yet kept it all together and has this team ready to go to postseason play. And I'm sure if you asked anybody else around baseball, they say the team they don't want to face, St. Louis, because of what they have done historically, recent history, and obviously what they did last year. But there's that nastiness factor that you got to have with some guys, it seems like, Al. And Cardinals got one back with Chris Carpenter. Pitching is the story tonight. No score. Through 6 innings, a hit, walked 2, hit a man, and 7 strikeouts. Very impressive this year to watch Miller develop. And what we saw his finishing act tonight in the regular season. Here's Broxton, and we saw him last night, the former closer with Los Angeles and Kansas City. Now being used as a setup man to Aroldis Chapman.
And he recorded 4 saves over 4 consecutive outings when Chapman was out. And he had 23 saves with Kansas City before he was acquired at the deadline.
Happy birthday to Jenny Bodkin from St. Louis, celebrating her 97th birthday today. Never misses a game. So here we go, home half of the 8th, and Chambers takes a strike.
And the Dodgers lost late last night to make the Cardinals the winner, and they had the final game to play this afternoon, and they beat San Francisco behind Kershaw. That could have been a mess. Cardinals were going to have to fly to LA and then win that game, then fly to Atlanta, cross country to Atlanta, win that game, and then come back and start the series. So things a little easier with their travel, just knowing that they're going to Atlanta.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Hit out of play. Two and two the count on Chambers. Broxton records a strikeout to start the bottom of the 8th. Subway surprise on the line. A look at the Central. So Cincinnati.
We've already taken them right out of the National League, haven't we? Houston.
See you later.
They're gone. Throw them out after 50 years.
I believe Houston and Chicago played each other today. Wrapped up their season against each other.
Chicago won 5-4.
Ooh, off of Broxton. Robinson hustling and safe at first. Beats it out. That would be the worst nightmare there for Cincinnati, to see one of their top relievers come into a game that's meaningless for them and get hurt. And Dusty said, yep, that's it. Seen enough. And he'll have a double switch here.
Broxton 300 pounds, and I thought that he got him out, but the call goes Robinson's way, and she said Dusty got scared. You seen that line drive back at
seen enough.
One of his pitchers and get him out of there.
You bet.
Yeah, he did pitch last night too, so I mean, wasn't like you needed a little more tune-up for him. Cairo is coming out, so a new second baseman.
So there you go. He's going to go to the bullpen, part of a double switch. We'll tell you about the change when we come back. Dusty Baker goes with his lefty here, with Schumacher coming up and Matt Carpenter as well.
Tony Cingrani, he is appearing for only the third time. Became only the second reliever in franchise history to record at least 5 strikeouts in his first career appearance. And Torres was the other back in 1977. Dusty trying to get some of his spare parts, a little tune-up, and yet this game is still on the line. 0-0, and we're here in the bottom of the 8th.
Tampa Bay did beat Baltimore 4-1, so the East wrapped up by the Yankees. Final tune-up for these two teams before the postseason.
And the Yankees are still playing against Boston. A little more insult to the Red Sox. Boston is trailing 14-2 in the 9th inning. Pretty close to a balk there.
Explain now what you see with the front leg and just how far it can go towards the plate.
You have an imaginary plane, and you lift up that front leg. If you break the plane, bring your leg back towards second base and break that plane, then you have to go to the plate.
Here's a 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And there was one time in the 70s in spring training, they drew a line on the mound saying if you stepped across that line, you had to go to the plate. They called more balks that spring training. And then once the season started, they forgot about it.
Sounds like the strike zone. Make it a point of emphasis to call it as it is in the book. You see that sometimes in spring training, and then once the season starts, it reverts back.
And you know, everybody used to have their own individual strike zone, and players got to know each umpire and their individual strike zone. Some were pitchers umpires, some were hitters umpires, and everyone dealt with it. But there are times today with a uniform strike zone, you aren't sure what it is.
One and two the count. Carpenter on deck. Three and two. The story tonight has been the bench of St. Louis, the lack of experience in this starting lineup. Shelby Miller began the game no-hitter into the 6th, and also the only runner that has reached third base. See if they send Robinson. One out, the 3-2 pitch. On its way, there he goes, and it's taken for a ball. So Carpenter, very good opportunity here. They love the way that Matt Carpenter takes it at bat against a left-handed pitcher. He's had a tough night. A pair of flyouts, one to left. The other to center field. He has also struck out.
Speaking of strikeouts, this young left-hander, Tony Cingrani, Struck out 20 at one time in high school. From Illinois. Pitched a no-hitter with 20 strikeouts against the state's top-ranked team. Played collegiately at Rice University.
Oh, 1 pitch to Carpenter. Hit sharply to second, and it gets through. Robinson will score. Carpenter delivers with a hard-hit ball. Very well could be an error. But the Cardinals are saying, so what? They lead it 1-0 here in the 8th.
It's Rodriguez who just went in as part of the double switch to play second base. I believe they scored it a hit, but as you said, probably should have been an error. It was hard hit, but right at the second baseman, he catches that ball. He turns it into an inning-ending double play. Good speed by Robinson. Comes around to score. Cardinals really catch another break because I thought Robinson was out at first. And they give a base hit and RBI to Carpenter.
So here is Cruz. 1 out, runners at first and third. That's hit out of play.
Tony needs to pick up at least the runner at third base.
2 up for Cincinnati. Valdez, Votto, Rodriguez, and Zipchinski. The Cardinals lefty is getting loose.
And Zipchinski would have a chance to pick up the save. And Mott has all 41 saves the Cardinals have this season.
A throw down to third. Ooh, just back in safely with Schumacher.
Like Frazier couldn't believe it. Does he get back? Yeah, it looks like he gets that corner.
You sure?
Like I said, looks like he gets back. Yeah, it's a good thing these umpires only have 2 choices.
0-2 the count on Tony Cruz. 1 out, runners at first and third. Cruz hits it out of play. Player of the game presented by Budweiser. Matt Carpenter 1 for 4 with an RBI single moments ago.
No Cardinal reliever has ever had all saves by their team, by the Cardinal team. Mott has it right now, and if Zipchinski comes in with a lead, he could destroy that record for Mott.
1-2. Two down. In steps Brian Anderson. He's had a very tough night, but could change that here.
Absolutely right about that. Struck out 3 times. First 2 times looking. Last time swinging. 3 strikeouts is a hat trick. 4 strikeouts, the golden sombrero. You know what 5 strikeouts in a game are?
I don't want to know.
A release.
Your walking papers, huh?
Just kidding.
I want to thank our sponsors throughout the season and supporting Cardinals baseball here on Fox Sports Midwest. Little check swing, and Anderson puts it in play, and no play. Base hit for Brian Anderson, and the bases are loaded.
Way to go, Brian. In the scorebook, it looks like a line drive base hit. Almost tried to check his swing. That's out in fair territory, so it goes in fair territory and perfectly placed for the infield single.
So here's Ryan Jackson with the bases loaded. Outfield shallow. Jackson looks at a strike. Jackson would love his first major league RBI. Here's the 0-1 pitch. In the air out to center. That will send us to the ninth. The Cardinals pick up that much needed hit. Off the bat of Carpenter. A 1-run lead. And they lead this ball game 1-0. RBI by Carpenter, and it's Zimchinski coming in the 1-run game here in the ninth, and not Jason Mott, as we've seen many of the regulars, Al, have a rest this evening.
Well, Zimchinski is well rested. He has not pitched since September 26th. It was 6 days prior to that he pitched against Houston. So very frustrating, I'm sure, for him. He was so good after being acquired at the trade deadline last season. Had some key matchups in postseason and was outstanding. See Matheny trying to change the defense around. Guard against the bunt. Mott is throwing in the bullpen. I wonder, Dan, if you would let Zimchinski get the first 2 outs,
and then bring in Mott.
And then bring in Mott to get the final out, and hopefully, get another save and keep that intact. That all 41 saves the Cardinals have are under the name of Jason Mott. No Cardinal relievers ever had all of the saves. Salas is also throwing. I'm not sure if Mike Matheny is aware of that. And it's just doesn't really mean anything in the scope of things, but it's just kind of interesting.
Out of play. Single back in the 6th inning for Valdez. Kimbrel with 42, Mott with 41 saves.
Atlanta won 4-0 tonight, and I'm sure Kimbrel did not pitch 3 innings.
Off the mound, Zimchinski, and it fires to first. And Anderson could not come up with it. Kind of sums up the year for Zimchinski, doesn't it, that play?
It really does. And
microcosm of what's happened this year for him.
I saw that Anderson was playing first base. I asked one of the coaches, has he ever played there? And they said 1 inning. Now, I'm not sure that was accurate or not, but obviously very catchable, and should go down as an error on Anderson.
And it does. Here's Votto. So Valdez is at first. That's the tying run.
Turns out Zimchinski's got a chance to make a case for himself with some tough left-handed bats here. Last year it seemed like he was always matched up against Prince Fielder. First time I believe he walked him, but then after that I think he got him out every key time. Cueto will start the first game for the Reds.
I believe Arroyo in game 2.
And last night, Stardo Latos will have game 3. Dusty Baker announced that today. I'm not sure about the Giants.
Official now with Miguel Cabrera. Wins the American League Triple Crown, 330. His batting mark, 44 home runs, 139 RBIs, and the first to do it since 1967.
It's Carl Yastrzemski. It was odd that year, but he won the batting title with a sub 300 average. No. Maybe. We'll find out.
It's slider, and Votto stays away.
Run Valdez. He was looking over, trying to get Billy Hatcher, the first base coach, confirmation of the signs.
Big strikeout. Yastrzemski, by the way, 326.
Really? I apologize. He has. And
44 home runs and drove in 121.
Mike is going to bring in Mott.
He saves in this 2012 campaign. Mott comes in. Tremendous season for Jason Mott. 71 1/3 innings pitched, 41 saves, and 48 appearances.
Once again, he has all 41 saves the Cardinals have acquired this year. No Cardinal reliever has ever had all the team saves. And he's got a chance to tie for the league lead, as you said. I think last year there was some crazy number, like 9 different relievers had saves for the Cardinals. It wasn't until late in the season before Mott took over, and boy, he ran with that job through the playoffs and the World Series.
1 ball, 1 strike on Henry Rodriguez.
He is not charged with an error, but a ball that he mishandled could have been a double play ball. Allowed the Cardinals to score.
Slowly hit to the right side. Tying run will be in scoring position. 2 outs.
Bruce sitting on 99 RBIs.
On their feet here at Busch Stadium. 1-0 St. Louis.
Will the Cardinals be back here and playing on Sunday and Monday?
Ground ball right side. Mott to the bag. Save number 42. Jason Mott in 2012 leads the league in saves with 42. Win number 88 for St. Louis. They finish up the year 88-74.
Mike Matheny should be very proud of his club. Started a lineup that had every player that came through the farm system all the way to the big leagues. The Reds had their everyday lineup. The Cardinals win 1-0. What a job by Miller, and Mott finishes it off for his 42nd save.
So on to the post-game show. The Cardinals hold on for a 1-0 win.